some years back, I attended a conference. The conference name was Shoah Holocaust, the Wasted Lessons, okay? Or rather, the wasted lessons of the Holocaust. It was a broad conference about genocide and about how we collectively as humanity basically have not learned anything from the Holocaust, the Shoah. And the conference was held in the Museum of Jewish History in Polin, in Warsaw, a very beautiful museum, which I also recommend anybody to visit when in Poland. And one of the lectures, because the conference was broken down into a series of lectures, topical lectures about, for example, the Holocaust itself, about various genocides happening in the world, about how genocides are happening and we don't really react to them, we grow complacent. The theme is wasted lessons. So of course, it's going to be a series of hard-hitting lectures about how we are letting history repeat itself. And one of the lectures that caught my attention the most was the lecture about the international problem of immigration, of refugee crises, about dehumanization of refugees, about tokenization of refugees, the story of the so-called no one's lands. And what a no one's land is that when you have a border, then it's not just a border. Sometimes it is the case that you just have a line. On one hand, you have country A, and on the other side of the line, you have country B. But a lot of the time, that's not really the case. A lot of the time, you have this neutral zone between borders. And that zone, that neutral zone, is referred to as no one's land. It belongs to no one. And that is where, during World War II, Jewish people were sort of trapped when they were trying to escape the Nazi regime and not to be killed. That's a thing that happened historically. And this sort of retelling of the history of Jewish people that were trapped in no one's lands was given as a comparison to what's happening today, when refugees are often trapped in those no one's lands and without food, medical assistance, anything to drink, sometimes under the open sky, exposed to the elements. That is a harsh reality of the situation. Such a reality was also true for Poland. Ever since, I believe, 2019 or maybe even earlier, we have had a border crisis, a humanitarian border crisis, in which people were forbidden from giving the refugees food, water, or anything else to drink, medical assistance. And it looks like, we basically are seeing a level of dehumanization that enters the levels of genocide, according to the lecture, at least, that I've listened to. He said that the international problem of the dehumanization of refugees and the structures in place when it comes to how they're treated, that all that you would have to do is pull the trigger, that everything, all the underlying mechanisms for a genocide are in place, that we are at a stage of a proto-genocide. That's one aspect of the refugee thing that I wanted to talk about. The second is that there's this huge narrative. It's present in the United States. It's present in Europe for certain. I'm not sure about other continents. I haven't looked into it, but the narrative is as follows. Immigrants, especially refugees, for some reason, asylum seekers are basically invaders. Those invaders are here to take your jobs, lower your wage, drain your social services, leech on the country. They don't want to work, and they want to destabilize the country and destroy the culture and replace the native population. Those are the common narratives that the anti-immigration crowd uses to justify policy and scapegoating immigrants for everything and anything. And in some cases, those are the narratives justifying huge deportation plans, the emboldening of organizations such as ICE. We all know what's happening in the United States right now, right? We all know what's been happening in the US. What is still happening. We all know about the Los Angeles riots. We all know what caused them. We're gonna probably do an update on that topic soon. And hello, Mr. Green. There's one interesting case that destroys this whole narrative. It just completely wrecks it. It demonstrates that the opposite is true. And it's proven with empirical data. As you may or may not be aware, at the beginning of the full-scale invasion in Ukraine, Poland has received a huge amount of Ukrainian refugees. Poland has accepted a lot of refugees. Over 1 million. A lot of people. And the mechanisms that were put in place in order to assist them are as follows. They were given a simplified access to the job market. They were given a simplified road to being able to open a small business. And they were given access to the social security services, just like Polish people. So, as I said, because this is going towards some good news for once, okay? And I've done a topic on immigration before. I've talked about this very same subject, talking about how Ukrainian refugees have contributed to the Polish economy. I got a ton of really angry messages, comments under the video, usually people saying that they're from the UK, talking about how I don't understand anything, how Ukrainian people are actually a drain on the Polish economy, that if Ukrainian people are 8% of the current Polish population, then they should be generating 8% of GDP for some reason, because otherwise they're a net negative to the GDP, which is not how that works at all. That's not how GDP generation works. It's not one. Uh, it's not 1-to-1. Okay, like a percentage of people has to generate exactly the same amount of G. That's nonsense. Okay. So yeah. Now, okay, we have empirical evidence. A study was made by a group called the UN Refugee Agency. Okay? The UN Refugee Agency has demonstrated, I'm going to put it on screen now for all the people that are skeptical. In 2024, Ukrainian refugees had a net impact of 2.7% to Poland's GDP. And the next part is kind of important in my opinion. With employment rates increasing from 61 to 69 in just 1 year. Poland's swift opening of its labor market enabled refugees to integrate economically and support themselves primarily through work. So basically, as I've said many times before, Ukrainian people put into the economy more than they take out via social programs. They are net benefit. And there has been no wage decrease, as this data suggests, as this study suggests. No wage for Polish people have been decreased. It has not caused Polish people to be hired less, which means that Ukrainian people as immigrants have only been a benefit to the country. The whole narrative has been completely demolished, completely refuted. Drain on the economy? Nope. They contribute via being active in the work, the work market. Drain the social security system? No. They contribute more to the economy than they receive from the social security programs. No wage decrease for Polish people, and Polish people still can get jobs just as easily as they could before. It just demonstrates, and let's make it clear, because I know what arguments are coming, at least from some people, from some sections of the anti-immigration crowd. There are two types of anti-immigration people, okay? There are ones that say no immigration is good. We should ban all immigration no matter what, legal or illegal. Those are the biggest fanatics as far as I'm concerned. But there are also racists, and they will say, to what I'm proposing here, to what I'm demonstrating here, they would say, okay, so the Ukrainian people have indeed benefited Poland, but Ukrainian people are culturally similar. Ukrainian people integrate well. Ukrainian people are just simply more in line with European values than those horrible people from the Middle East or from Africa. To which I say, in my personal opinion, and that is the only thing that I can present here, it's irrelevant. Okay? If you create conditions which were created for Ukrainian people, that is the thesis that I'm putting forward. That is my argument that I'm putting forward, that if you would give immigrant groups the conditions that Poland has given to Ukrainian people, so simplified access to the work market, simplified access to legalize and stay, simplified access to social services, then you would simply see benefits. If instead of roadblocks, instead of antagonizing, instead of ICE, you would see a simplified roadmap to being able to get a job or start a small business, I guarantee you it doesn't matter if the group was from Africa, Middle East, anywhere, you would see, in my opinion, similar results. And I would need to be proven different in order to believe otherwise. That is the gist of what I'm trying to say here. Okay? Ukrainian people are not special in that regard. They're not special in that regard, that they are uniquely structured to be able to find a job, integrate, etc. It's all a matter of creating the conditions for people to be able to do that. And those conditions were clearly created here. And that resulted in basically a net positive result. Okay? And actually, this organization completely agrees with me, because their conclusion is the data clearly show, it should be shows, the data clearly shows that refugees are not just recipients of aid, they are contributors to economic growth. Inclusion of refugees through advanced language classes for professionals and relaxing occupational restrictions would assist certain groups in entering the labor market and bringing higher value added. Targeted investment in human capital, especially for displaced populations, is not only socially responsible, but economically sound. It strengthens communities, improves household welfare, and builds a more inclusive labor market. That is basically, I think this sentence sums it up perfectly for me. I think this completely defeats the argumentation by the populist right wing about invasions, about stealing of jobs, about crime, etc. It just completely demolishes the argument. And I would go as far as to say, okay? And I don't think I'm exaggerating when I'm saying this. If doing a thing causes net benefit, okay? If making it easier for refugees and immigrants to find a job, to integrate, results in a net benefit, then it is very, in my opinion, it is completely fair to say, if you do the opposite, then what is it? It's a net negative for the country. If you're basically cutting off the road for the country to benefit, then you're impacting the country negatively. Okay? Anti-immigrant policy is a net negative for countries. That is what I'm putting forward. And that is where I'm going to end this segment here. It is a detriment for countries to adopt an anti-immigration policy.